It's 5 p.m. We'll call the Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioner Waldridge.
Present.
Commissioner Tippett.
Here.
Commissioner Wissman.
Here.
Commissioner Sauer.
Here.
Mayor May.
Here, we do have a quorum present, and I was asked by staff if we could go ahead and do item number 6, the funding assistance agreement for the women's shelter. If we could go on and get that out of the way for a time constraint reason. If there's no objection, we'll put that out before the body. We have Mr. City Manager, is Ms. Hall, does she need to make a presentation, or we just need to have her available in case somebody has questions?
She's available, Mayor. I was going to kind of take the lead on this and explain it. If Rebecca needed to do anything else, we can go from there.
Okay, go ahead, please.
So this is a request. As you all know, the Old Mason's Grocery on Murray Street was donated to the women's shelter. It's going to be built out as a community center / emergency shelter for the downstairs, and then a couple of other apartments upstairs for the women's shelter. They are applying for some grants. They also needed a document signed from the city with the mayor's signature showing support for this. And I suggested that I was going to make the ask of you all if we could contribute $25,000 to the cause, which would strengthen the grant ask as well as help them financially, as this ask will impact the whole community by adding additional emergency shelter beds in a time that we've obviously seen the need for. Ms. Hall is on here to talk about the grants. I think they've applied for a couple of grants, one of them 75, one of them 50,000, and the total build out of that building is probably 120,000 or something like that. But it's a worthwhile endeavor and would serve the whole community and not just a certain aspect of the community.
Okay, so commissioners have any questions?
Can we just cut to the chase?
Yes, you will make a motion.
I move to approve the request, Mayor.
Moved by Commissioner Tippett.
Second.
Couldn't tell. Thank you, Commissioner Wissman. Was that you? I couldn't tell.
Yes.
It's okay. Okay. I saw Commissioner Wissman's hand up, so I didn't know. All right. Motion is second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioner Waldridge.
Yes.
Commissioner Tippett.
Commissioner Tippett, did you freeze up?
We did.
Maybe. Okay, I see his mic coming back on. Commissioner Tippett, can you hear us? Oh, I saw movement. Okay, we can come back at the end of, if y'all continue the roll call.
Commissioner Wissman.
Yes, I'd like to explain my vote. You know, I've been intimately familiar with this building, but I'm very happy that a generous citizen donated this and is providing some additional much-needed housing for the community. So I think this is going to be just a first step, and I've talked with Mr. Russell at length that we need to be considering
Mayor, have we called the question?
Space for housing options for our shelters that we're seeing the need grow, and I'm glad we're on top of this one to provide at least something right away. So yes.
Commissioner Sauer.
Yes, and I'd like to explain my vote. This is one of the many things that has been on the back burner for a long time, just trying to figure out better use and so forth of making this particular piece of property active again. It's long overdue. I vote yes.
Mayor May.
I vote yes, and I believe I heard Commissioner Tippett say record a yes vote. Did you hear that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. And thanks to our staff for working on that, and for the folks at the Women's Shelter for providing that great service. And it's good to see this building that's been an important part of the neighborhood for so many, many years. We appreciate how this has all gotten to this point, and we appreciate everyone that had worked on it. Next item would be item number 2, be first reading of an ordinance. It asks the solicitor to read it by title and summary only, please.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 16, 2020 series, fixing the rate of taxation for the year of 2020 on all real and tangible personal property subject to tax, public service companies, and levying said tax for all city purposes. This ordinance amends the 2020 City of Frankfort ad valorem tax rate to 19 6/10 cents on each $100 valuation of all real and personal property, 19 6/10 cents on each $100 valuation on public utilities and public service companies taxable on a franchise basis.
All right, is there any questions or comments from commissioners?
Mayor,
Commissioners?
could I just have an explanation just for the public who might be watching the change? I know we sent it out, but Mr. Russell maybe could provide us that.
Sure. Good.
Or Ms. Boyd, there we are.
Alicia's probably the better explainer than I am, even though we've discussed it several times. I'll let her go into this.
Okay, Ms. Boyd, thank you.
Commissioner Wisman, what happened was the city has 2 taxing districts, and when we did the calculation, we inadvertently added the old city taxing district twice. So the previous assessments that I provided you were too high. And so that was caught when our tax bill prepared as well. And that's how it was caught. So it was a simple, honest error, mistake, however you want to phrase that. But it was just that the assessments were higher than they should have been. And so once that got corrected, the new compensating rate was 19.6 cents per 100.
And Ms. Boyd, that is the real property in our city with the old city taxing district and the annex taxing district.
Correct. So,
Yeah.
right, I had inadvertently added the old city assessment 2 times.
Okay. Do you have the figure for us of what our taxable base is then compared to what you had last time?
Yes, I do. So previously, it was a little over 1.7 billion, I think. That was the incorrect assessment. And now it's actually the true assessment's a little over 1.4 billion, almost 1.5 billion. So, and that difference is the old city assessment, as I said, was inadvertently added twice.
Okay. All right.
Do you have further?
Thank you. Well, just a thought. This is still a decrease, even at that rate, in our taxing rates from last year, correct?
Correct. Last year, I think you approved 19.8 cents per 100. And this year it would be 19.6 cents per 100. That's the compensating rate for this year, 19.6. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for clarifying.
You're very welcome.
All right, any other questions? Okay. All right. Next item will be first reading of item number 3. I ask the city solicitor to read it by title and summary only, please.
An ordinance amending section 36.161A of the City of Frankfort's Code of Ordinances regarding creation and establishment of the Urban Forestry Advisory Board. This ordinance amends section 36.161A of the City of Frankfort Code of Ordinances to remove the requirement that members of the Urban Forestry Advisory Board reside within the city limits.
Okay, any questions on this one? Okay, seeing none, we'll go on to item number 4, discussion of arborist position.
Thank you, sir. We do have a job description for the arborist position. It is not filled at this time. And I don't believe it was budgeted into Parks and Rec staff. We have been looking at this, and I do have a person that is on the staff now that wants to have a conversation with us to see if they can fill that position. So if they feel like they could do the job that they have now plus the arborist job, I think we certainly entertain that. We are going to have a conversation with them before Monday and see that everything will work. And if we have to do it on a temporary basis or 3 months or 6 months to see how it'll work out, we will do that. They said that they would strive to achieve their arborist certification if need be. But I like the idea that somebody wants to step up that's on staff, that has a passion for this. And even though I can see a chance for some things to go south, I still think that if you all would give me a few days to entertain this and to have some conversations, that we'll bring it back before you all on the work session.
Okay. Any commissioners have questions? Commissioner Waldridge.
Yes, is Sean on?
Sean is not on.
Okay, so are you answering the questions?
I am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, how long has this position been open?
Oh, I think it's at least 3 years since Ms. Steinhauser was here.
And with that being said, what is the rush with Sean and over in Parks and Rec that we actually need an arborist like right now at this time? Definitely, since it was not budgeted in our budget and COVID is, really, right now we're okay, but we can't continue just to say we're okay. We won't really know until Q1 and Q2. What does that salary look like? What does that look like adding it onto his position if we were to do that? What does the money look like on that side, I guess is what I'm saying, and why we're doing this at this moment. Is there a true need at this moment that we can't wait till a new commission comes in to hire other positions that will then affect that budget that new commissioners will be over?
That pay grade was like a 72 or something like that, Commissioner. Maybe 41 grand. Right now we are contracting with a local tree service to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't gotten a chance to pull that data to compare what that rise would be as opposed compared with what we're paying the tree service now. That's why I was asking for another couple of days. I'm just going off of what the Board of Commissioners directed in the last meeting to bring this forward, to give some information about this.
Okay, yeah. I'm sorry, Mayor, may I
Yeah.
follow? Sorry, I just want to make sure that, and when you pull that information, that would have been definitely helpful information on how many times that our tree service that we do contract out right now, how many times is that being used in the last 3 years? As far as the arborist, I just think that once we do a little bit more digging, we'll see that we can, probably hold off on this until the new commission coming in, and definitely work that salary into that, whether that's with this young man that is with us or not. But if we do not, if this person does not pick up this arborist, are you saying that it's an extra $41,000 onto his salary? Or are you saying if we hire a full-time arborist, it will be $41,000 plus benefits?
That 41 grand was just the last pay scale that was the last arborist that was in the job. I don't know whether that is, I would think that would be negotiable for anybody coming in. I would not think that I would offer this employee $41,000 more dollars plus what they're doing. There are a lot of staff in the city that do 2 jobs. So again, all that is negotiable, and we'll see what's best for everybody. But I just needed to pull some more information to be ready for this on Monday.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. I just would like more information before we move forward with it,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
that seems like that's what you're going to get. So that's fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other, Commissioner Wisman?
Yeah, Mayor, thank you. Tommy, I've spoken with you already about my thoughts on this position. I've asked our previous city manager to include this in the budget for the last two budgets, and it never happened. I am determined that this position needs to be filled for our city. If they were to work in our parks alone, our nearly 1,000-acre of parks, they would have a lifetime job to do, and we are using actively a consulting firm at probably quite a lot of expense already. They just took out a tree and limbed up almost all the trees at Dolly Graham Park in the last few weeks, for instance, that I'm imagining the cost of that alone would have went a long way to the full-time position. But we have a dedicated
Mayor.
forestry program here in the city, an urban forestry program, a board that wanted this, and this position was cut through attrition years ago and has yet to be filled, and is something that we desperately need. The payback on the long term is significant, and in light of our being asked to consider a downtown tree master plan, this is integral into implementing that plan and seeing our benefits of our trees, which can significantly reduce water runoff. As we all know, we've had long-term discussions about letting our parks grow into mature forest in some areas, and this is all part of that. So, Tommy, I think it's a great idea. I love building our own staff, if you will, and letting people come up through our system. I'm all for that, but I want someone pretty soon that has some experience, who can take on the role, so we can adopt that tree plan before spring gets here and start implementing some of it. And I do have some thoughts I'll send you, Mr. Russell, about maybe expanding the job description just slightly to include some of the landscape design of the downtown planters and some of those other things that sort of aren't completely fleshed out. The Parks Department just manages, but I think it'd be nice to have someone with some landscape design experience to oversee those, as well as our older growth tree program, where we installed a few years ago to protect those large diameter trees in the community. So,
Hey, am I in real time with you all? I had a power surge in the EO. There was a power surge in the building here, and I lost everybody for a minute. Did I stay on the screen? I could not see. I could see myself, but nobody else. Am I in real time?
yes.
Okay.
That's
all I-
here. That's a generator kicking on and off. We test the generator on the NEOC Wednesdays. I forgot about that. So,
Okay. I knew it was something. I said, I just had a major power surge here.
okay.
Okay, we're good.
I
So,
have, if I can address Commissioner Wisman.
please.
I do see the need for the arborist position, Commissioner. I did ask Director Pickens his thoughts on this, and it is unequivocally yes, that the need is there. So I'm going to do my due diligence and do the research and see where this takes us to try to bring this to fruition.
Appreciate you, Mr. Russell.
Commissioner Sauer, you have your hand up.
I think Tippett was trying to say something, Mayor.
Oh, okay, sorry. Commissioner Tippett, and then I'm Commissioner Sauer. Commissioner Tippett, I lost you for a minute there. I was gone.
Mayor.
Did you want to say something? Yes, go ahead. Commissioner Tippett, I think we have a little delay with you, sir.
Yeah, I think he has a bad connection.
Mayor.
Go ahead, Commissioner Tippett.
Mayor.
Go ahead, Commissioner Tippett.
Mayor.
Ms. Ross, if he stays on the camera, can we have him call into our city manager's phone and have the sound off of that, or does it have to be it doesn't have to be from the same device, does it?
It doesn't have to be from the same device, but it does have to pair up and be in real time. So whatever we're seeing on the screen needs to match what he's saying.
It's not going to be real time. Okay. Commissioner Tippett, I'm very sorry. We are not in sync with you right now, or you're not in sync with us either way. So I'll come back to you. Commissioner Sauer had his hand up.
Yes, Mayor. I wish Tommy, what about the tree master plan? Can you give us an update on that?
Yes, sir. We, that master plan, we did one in 2016 by Urban Canopy, maybe something like that. We revisited that maybe 10 days ago to come up with, to make sure our cost estimates were correct. I had some concerns because of the constructions of parcels B and C and then the Tiger grant to make sure how we were going to fill this request or make this plan come into effect. We are in the middle of fleshing that back out now, maybe in 2 block increments or 4 block increments, and then talking about a way to bring get the public involved. Say, I wanted to sponsor a tree in memory of my mother. I could certainly sponsor that tree and have a plaque and go those routes. We were looking for ways to, like I say, to bring the public back into play. And we have had I've had some requests from some individuals about donations. And when it comes down to it and we get the plan finalized, then we'll put it back out and make sure. And that way, all of our prices are current and up to date, and warranties and plannings and all of those things are decided. I didn't want to put it back out there before everything is back current.
Okay, just so we don't get too far off topic, we should probably focus back on more the position part of it. While I do agree that the position does impact those, we just want to stay within the boundaries of what we had on our agenda.
Right, and Mayor, that's why I wanted to know the background.
Okay.
The city manager mentioned at least 4 or 5 reasons why we ought to have an arborist right now. So I disagree with the idea to delay, but I would ask the city manager to have a proposal ready for us at the next meeting.
Okay, for October 12th. Okay, Commissioner Waldridge had her hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I know Commissioner Wisman had just mentioned that it was delayed twice by the previous city manager. And I just want to say that it wasn't so much that it was delayed at the time, if I'm not mistaken, that it was brought up in the meeting, that you felt like it was a need as a commissioner. And in the parks at the time, I think we were in the middle of hiring someone else as well to come into our parks area. But I think what he was saying, that it was ample time for the service, the tree service that we have contracted out, was able to take control and do some of the things that we needed versus hiring someone right now full time. I'm not opposed to having an arborist. I just think that right now, given that it is almost pushing mid-October, and election season is basically right around the corner. Just as we did when we were coming in 2018, roughly October, November, there wasn't any big positions that were being hired. Myself, as well as Commissioner Wishman, definitely spoke with you, Mayor, on several different occasions about hiring and wanting them to wait till the new commission got in. And I think the same respect and same reserve needs to be handled here as well, not because we're in a position of power right now to move forward and to continue spending money. I think it's time that we start realizing that our commission here is coming to a close November 4. And I think that we need to get the same respect that you wanted in 2018 when we were coming in and had those late night calls on they're trying to take our power away and things. I think we need to make sure we're doing the same thing in that. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that it's not needed, but I think right now the people that are handling it's been empty for 3 years.
Mayor.
Why two more months? It can't wait. So that's all I'm saying.
Commissioner Sauer's hand up. Commissioner Tippett, you're still on a delay, so I apologize that you're probably not hearing me in real time. Commissioner Sauer.
Mayor, I, for one, am not going to sit on my hands for the next 2.5 months, which is a part of my term. So I am of the opinion that we need to move forward on this particular items and any other items that we have that are near completion. Thank you.
You're welcome. I apologize, Commissioner Tippett. We want you to be part of the discussion, and unfortunately, maybe he's going to jump off and try to sign back in. I agree. It's important. This is a position that's been there. It's been vacant. It's not a new position. So I think for me, having been involved with it when we started the program, the importance of it, I've seen things lag far behind what we used to do in that department, and especially with the tree canopy. I think it's very important when we have a full-time arborist. And I also received that request a couple of times previously from the tree board folks. The chairman of the tree board had talked to me on multiple occasions, and it just at the time, for whatever reason, I'm not going to try to go back and remember or anything like that, but the city manager didn't put it in the budget. We need to fill this position. I appreciate Commissioner Wissman reminded me that this position was still vacant and that we needed to fill it. So for the good of the environment and the future of our community, I think it's important to go ahead and get it in there. And we did have an offer to donate some money for our tree master plan. Since that's not been updated, the city manager and myself thought we needed to go back also and get that updated so that we can get those current prices and accept a generous offer from one of our community members. But we're not there. We don't have the updated plan. And I think back when we started this program, we saw a tremendous amount of the urban canopy, a lot of trees planted in the community. And I would tell people in speeches that the work of the tree board, and especially when we had the arborist on board, that one day people will just drive down the boulevard and see all these beautiful trees blooming, and it'd just be out of nowhere. And it's like that goes back to our Parks Department, our tree board, and our arborist are a very important part of that. And I think, especially now with the threat to the environment, we need as much positive tree growth in our community as we can get. Commissioner Tippett,
Mayor.
There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to provide a little background information. I
Absolutely.
believe Miss Gruber was our last arborist.
That's correct.
She left in 2016. The previous board was really big into what we called efficiencies, and we took our time filling positions, and that's partially how we were able to accumulate that huge amount of reserves over time, because it was a frugal measure, and it did save us some money. But now it's time. We need that arborist. It is absolutely time. Our tree stock is probably under siege, and we need to have it all evaluated. And it really isn't something, if you really care about.
Well, we're losing you again, Commissioner Tippett. Sorry.
Yep.
Commissioner Wissman, then we'll come back to, wait a minute, Commissioner Tippett, are you back?
Is really important.
I think you're saying that position is really important. That's what the last thing we heard. So Commissioner Wissman?
Yeah, Mayor. I just want to remind everyone that this is truly a public safety issue. We had a large tree fall at Juniper Hills recently, very recently, within the last 2 months. We had large limbs falling at Dolly Graham Park that resulted in the removal of a tree. If we had this position on staff for years now that it's been vacant, those would have been dealt with in a much more a quicker manner to remediate those problems or to address them beforehand before they became trees that we had to take down. This is an expensive proposition to take down trees that with simple maintenance and addressing disease issues, we can retain a lot of those. We've had two on Wapping Street of our oldest growth trees in the community fall in recent years. We can address some of those issues if we're actively maintaining and looking after our tree stock. And as a small community, we value our tree base. We know what the value they add to our neighborhoods and our parks. And we've had a significant amount of problems in the last couple of years because that position has been vacant exclusively. And in the long term, I suspect we've spent a lot more money because of the previous commission's decision not to fill that position in taking down trees that would have paid for the position and would have allowed us to keep some of these and maintain some of the problematic areas better. So it's one that needed to be filled years ago. I've been asking since I came on the commission, and I'm hopeful and excited Mr. Russell's working on it for us, as I've been asking for a couple of years.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Commissioner Waldridge.
Yes, I have one comment. I just want to keep in mind that we are the Board of Commission, and I understand that maybe you've wanted it for so long and maybe it was not worked into the city manager's proposal of budget, but also remember we are Board of Commissions and it only takes 3 votes to make an amendment or override anything for the city manager. And now all of a sudden we're doing it when we're just a couple of months away from the end of the year, and then all of a sudden we're doing it. So very well, there could have been 3 votes that could have changed that budget to work that in if at the time it was truly needed, as you said, Mr. Wisman. So do keep that in mind. That is one of our opportunities that we have, getting 3 votes. As you guys know, 3 votes gets a lot of things done. So we could have done an amendment to our budget if you felt at the time that it was something serious, but it never made it to the budget. So just keep that in mind. But I agree. Thank you. Please bring back the information. As I said, I'm not opposed to it. It's just an opportune time right now to be adding more positions, spending more money in our budget, things of that nature. Trust me, I've been also speaking with Rebecca Hall and some other staff in regards to trees. So I'm clearly aware of what's going on, what needed, what we could do for the next couple of months. I'm not saying definitely hold up on any of our decisions. I'm just saying that we should be respectful in that. And if we can go 2 more months, we've been three years in this situation. 2 more months, I don't think is really, truly going to harm us in the situation of waiting and continuing with our tree service and with the people that we have right now. And I think it's a great idea, Tommy, for someone, if we, do get this position, to use the people that we have and give them more responsibility and continue to move them up the ladder. I'm definitely in support of staff in that manner. So thank you.
All right, any other comments? So we'll have this on the agenda for October the 12th, and we can vote on that position then. And I think if you need to provide us any additional information, City Manager, you can provide that between now and Monday at 5. All right. Commissioner Tippett, are you with us, sir? Let's see, next item would be item number 5. This is discussion of an ethics provision regarding disclosure of confidential information. Since I'm on the ELC, did staff send us a document to review or just talk about I didn't check. Okay, we don't have anything. Okay, good. Didn't think we did. This is a discussion tonight to get commission input on regarding our fiduciary duties as sworn elected officials, have a fiduciary duty to protect the organization, the city of Frankfort. And we've never had any concerns in the past of disclosure of any kind of confidential information, especially primarily when you're dealing with property matters that could affect the cost, personnel issues that could result in litigation. Property matters, of course, can result in litigation too. Those types of situations where there's sensitive information, we just felt the need to put something on a permanent basis to have in black and white. So I'll answer any questions or comments. The city solicitor, did you want to add something to that?
I just wanted to say I do have a draft, and I'll be happy to get that ready for you guys on October 12th if that's what you want.
Okay. I thought there was something. I just didn't know if everybody had gotten a copy of it. I didn't have it as of 4:30, but I didn't know if anything got sent late. Okay. Commissioner Waldridge.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
There we go. You mentioned that we felt that, just stated that we felt that this needed to change, or that maybe some changes needed. Could you share with me who's we? I wasn't part of that conversation, so I was just wondering.
The city attorney and the city manager, myself. As I said, we talked about it and felt like it needed to be in black and white, since the issue had come up with a possible member of the Board of Commissioners discussing closed session items in a public setting. So the thinking was it'd be better to put something on a permanent basis versus the one motion that Commissioner, that was made and adopted at the August 10th meeting, because that would reflect only on that particular meeting.
Okay.
Go ahead,
A follow-up question. So on the August 10th meeting, there was, as far as I know, there wasn't anything that has been discussed, and maybe I haven't heard that commissioner speak of anything outside the August 10th meeting in regards to property litigation or the cost of property. So could you help me understand that discrepancy of the August 10th date? And I haven't heard anything from our city solicitor that there were issues in regarding litigation possibility, cost of property, or disclosure of information in regards to HIPAA and things that are actually truly covered under this. I've not heard any issues with that. I'm sorry. Maybe the solicitor could share some of what those issues could be, so I can have a little understanding of why all of a sudden this was put on a special meeting in the middle of the week.
Mayor, if I may.
I'm sorry, I lost y'all for a minute. I had the power is going on and off on the emergency generator, the test. I lost you. Could y'all hear me or see me?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay, so I apologize. I lost most of that. Ms. Ross, would you just ask?
Yes, I was just going to respond, if possible, to Commissioner Waldridge's questions, and that is, no, I'm not aware of any litigation regarding any disclosure of information specific to property or HIPAA or any of those topics.
Okay, thank you. I didn't think so. So then does that make it clear that maybe that some of the information that we're trying to change this is just trying to keep, that this is not a protection of myself as far as me, city commissioner, and the motions or the suggestions that I make? It's not keeping me safe. It's actually keeping the city safe, as far as whether that's the cost of property, acquiring a property, or anything of that nature. Not so much me personally, Patricia, if I speak. Is that the clarity or the quote black and white that the mayor's speaking of?
Are you talking to the city attorney? Okay. Did you hear that, Ms. Ross?
I'm not sure I'm equipped to answer that question, but if you want to repeat it again, I can make an effort, Commissioner Waldridge.
I'm trying to figure out what the mayor's black and white meant, since you just shared that as of August the 10th date of the meeting, you were not aware of any violations or any issues being spoke about in regards to litigation, cost of property or appraisal, or acquiring property, or disclosure of information such as HIPAA and things of that nature. The only other issue at that moment was dealing with city manager and things of that nature. And so I'm trying to make clear that this rule and regulation that we're talking about and trying to quote discuss in a meeting in the middle of the week, is that are we trying to protect ourselves from conversation that we're keeping from the public, or are we actually trying to do due diligently because something has been spoken about property? Because if I'm not mistaken, there has actually been property discussion from other commissioners on this board in 2019, and I'm sure furthermore 2020. And so that would be some of the meetings that we would really need to be on here versus your August 10th meeting when it was mainly about Keith Parker. So I'm just trying to understand why we have this on here and what are we trying to make black and white.
And black and white refers to in paper, a paper copy, a hard copy. Correct, Ms. Ross?
Could you clear that up on?
Sure. So as we did on August 10th, just to remind everybody, we did a motion and vote to keep information confidential. The appropriate method for making a permanent provision, if you all choose to do so, and let me make it clear, I have no opinion on whether or not you should. I can just say that it is legal to do so. It is legal to do so. There is language that I've been working on and looking at examples from KLC that would tie it potentially to our ethics ordinance, and that would clarify exactly what we mean by confidential information so that it's not confusing and we have that clarity going forward.
Okay. Commissioner Waldridge.
So would confidential evidence be a mere discussion of firing or dismissing a city manager in just discussion, but not the rims of it? And if that city manager is okay with his position being open and talked about, does that come into play? Because these rules and regulations don't protect us as individuals, as city commissioners, to do wrong by our taxpayers. We still have to do our due diligently inside meetings to make sure we know what's going on. And at that particular meeting, if I'm not mistaken, you and I both were both confused in what was going on. So if we talk about rules and regulations, I really think that we need more time on this so we can go back in to look at all of these other things, definitely with the open meetings and stuff like that. I think this all goes around in the same thing. But I just don't see why we're discussing this. I guess I'm not sure where this commissioner has talked about property and things, or accusations or acquiring property, or I guess I'm just not seeing that. Could you share with me some of that on why we're discussing this? Mayor.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, we didn't say there was a commissioner that talked about a property issue, just said that that's the type of issues that when we talk about in closed sessions, that information needs to stay confidential for various reasons. And we have fiduciary duties as individual members of the Board of Commissioners and collectively to protect the organization, and disclosing information that was discussed on any type of action that was any type of employment issue, contractual issue. We need to remember we must follow those rules of procedure. And regardless whether somebody subsequent to a meeting says they are okay with releasing information, it depends on what the contractual agreement is with the city as to whether or not that information can be waived or should be waived or should not be. Commissioner Waldridge.
Wouldn't this be fair to say, Mayor, that we also need to remind ourselves and remember that we are nothing more but serving our community where they elected us and voted us to do, and in all rims of city government, that our taxpayers have a right to know what's going on? And as far as August 10th meeting was concerned, we were letting go of someone in the city who has done great things, and it's only right for us to know some kind of allegations, because since August 10th, we've had meetings where there has been times, Mayor, that this city manager has been trying to, they've been trying to throw him under the bus, saying that he didn't do this or he didn't follow through this. And I'm still waiting for the reason on why we got rid of a city manager. And I truly think that our community needs to know that. And if we so wish to come up with provisions to try to keep someone quiet because he or she is doing the diligence of the taxpayers, I think right now that we're trying to cover ourselves and for information that should be legit and open to our community. And as of August the 10th, there was no property or anything of that nature that has been talked about in this community in regards to that. So again, I'm asking, what has occurred that has allowed us to want to discuss this information if truly in all of these areas, nothing has been in the community about acquisition of property, acquiring property, the cost of property, HIPAA violations, or anything of that nature.
Right.
And also remember that it must be verbal too. So if it's verbal, and because maybe, and I'll use myself as example, when I'm asked a question, I am definitely going to give the answer. I'm definitely going to be honest about that. And if I write that into an email to two people who were actually in the closed session, I have not made anyone aware of what happens. Now, whether or not the State Journal asked for open records, that's another thing. I didn't give them information. What I did was respond to you and Miss Ross, if you just happen to be talking about me, and you guys were in that closed session, meaning I myself haven't shared anything, but if the State Journal did an open records, they're privy to our emails, just like our taxpayers. So I'm just really trying to understand this, because I don't want our community to feel like they're in a position right now with blinders over on what's going to happen in the next 2 months, as far as this is concerned, going toward a new election. And the taxpayers have a right to know. And just to add on a note, we actually have 3 people that wrote in comments, and there was not a comment section for our special meeting, which I think that every meeting we have, regardless if it's special or not, or a last minute meeting, there should always be comments. And I would appreciate that time for our for Ms. Maxwell to read our comments that our people and our taxpayers have written in.
So to answer your question, Commissioner, I don't believe the State Journal did any open records request on anything from a closed session that I'm aware that's been released. Responding to your question, what's happened since the last meeting? I think you read at the last meeting comments that you said were discussed in the closed session. So that would be considered I'm not going to say but a possible violation of a policy adopted by the City Commission at the August 10th meeting. And then I believe you were quoted at least once, if not twice, in newspaper references or articles with exact wording that you read from what you said was in a closed session. So that would in itself be of deep concern for going forward with a commissioner who is disclosing information about a closed or an executive session on personnel. So that does concern me deeply. Commissioner Waldridge.
I understand that it concerns you deeply, as it should, because there's been several things happen behind closed doors our community should have been aware of, like the firing of Keith Parker. So yes, it should concern you deeply. And it doesn't concern me deeply in that manner, because it's something that our community needs to hear. But I will say, in the things that you're speaking of, once again, Mayor, let's go back. They do not consist of acquiring property, litigation, HIPAA, or anything of those concerns that would fall underneath of that. Again, a closed meeting is not to protect you from doing wrong by our taxpayers or any one of us on this city commission of doing wrong. That meeting is to keep things that need to be in there very well closed. And anything definitely dealing with Keith Parker or Keith Parker's position at this time, especially when we went in with the knowledge that there could be an evaluation, there could be a dismissal, and and then we left with a dismissal, but there was no discussion. That is a problem. So I just want a little bit more about that. But what I did ask at the end, I know it wasn't really a question, but I would also like to take this time, since we are on number 5 in regards to the ethics provision, that we did have 3 comments from our community. And I would really appreciate it if Shermay could read those, because we did not put citizen comments. And if we put out comments or we put out last minute meetings, I feel that our community should still have a voice. So I would really like those read, because it's dealing with number 5. Shermay, do you have those present? Okay.
I'll go back and answer your question further.
Yes, sure.
What you asked, what occurred from the last meeting till this meeting today, is that apparently at the last meeting, there could be construed to be a violation of a city commission policy that was voted on that said do not discuss executive session conversations, decisions, etc., in open session because of the potential for litigation. There was nothing in that session other than that you mentioned, since that was the exact wording that you read at the last city commission meeting, and then you were subsequently quoted in the newspaper. Whether the newspaper got that right, I don't know. That would be up to you to know what you said and what you didn't say. So our concern is the possible violation of a city commission directive / policy that would be of great concern, that could open the city up to legal issues. In terms of talking about specifics on any type of personnel item in the past or going forward, it all depends on what type of contractual agreement the city has with an individual or an entity, and personnel thing would be an individual, and to comply with the provisions of that contract that were discussed and agreed upon by both parties. And any violation of that could open up the city to possible litigation. In terms of citizen comments, staff reminded me today that that was not on the agenda. However, we can put in the record. I spoke with the city attorney beforehand. She said that we could allow those to be put into the record, and we'll make those available to anybody who would like to read those. And city solicitor, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't want to speak for you. But that was the conversation I had with the city solicitor. Do you have any different opinion on that, Ms. Ross?
No different opinion. You all can have them placed into the record, or you could, if you chose, read them into the record. Either way is fine. We've had other meetings where we haven't had citizen comments, and we've done it both ways.
Right. So I have no problem hearing from citizens. And if we don't read them tonight, we can always come back and read them at the next commission meeting when we do have citizen comments.
I'm sure, May, do you have them available to read them this evening? I'm sorry, you're muted, sorry.
Yes, I have them here if you direct me to read them.
I would like to have them read.
And I don't care either way. Do commissioners have any preference?
Thank you.
Mayor, I just have some other items about this.
Okay, go ahead, commissioners.
It's based on this instead of all the rhetoric that keeps going around here. On our August 10th meeting, we came out of closed session to set a standard for proceeding, and whether every commissioner agrees with those standards, we are all obligated legally to comply by them. We had a commissioner, of course, giving a play-by-play through mass communications of our actions. And I would like, Ms. Ross, I talked to her yesterday, but I'd like to see, as I mentioned on that meeting that night, to see some additional element in our ethics ordinance that states that the commission cannot, during official meetings, engage in mass communications of other sorts. Our focus needs to be on the issues at hand, and in our voting present, I believe that we need to exclude external elements and undo access to each commissioner through other forms of media or communication. We allow citizen comments at the beginning and the end of a meeting, and not during our debates, which technology has completely changed, of course, as you can get text, social media. We have one commissioner, of course, who consistently watches the social media feed for comments, and things come out of her mouth as we're meeting. I believe it's undue influence, and it should be an ethical concern to participate in those mass communications when we are having official commission meetings where the rest of the public has limited access to us and to our considerations of issues. And it creates a big problem where folks aren't maybe on topic or even knowledgeable about what's going on because of things they're engaging in otherwise. It's difficult enough during the pandemic that we're engaging in this digital manner, but our focus needs to be on the issues at hand regularly and not about a lot of noise and rhetoric around other things that are, I believe, physically jeopardizing the health and safety of our community often. So I hope, I know Ms. Ross has already been looking at some terminology to add to that. I walked into City Hall yesterday and spoke with her about that issue. So.
And if commissioners have any thoughts on reading those in today, we can read them in at our next meeting. It's whatever the pleasure of the body is. I'll leave it up to the body.
Mayor, I have no preference.
Okay.
Am I now in sync with you guys?
We
Yes.
are. Yes, they are.
Praise the Lord.
I do have a question. Those comments were about a number of issues. They were circulated to all of us. We all have access to them. I don't know, Ms. Ross, if you feel that they particularly relate to this agenda item as much as they need to. It seems to be more campaigning than anything for a certain candidate that I prefer just not to hear it. I'm tired of the negativity and the rhetoric that's going around. That can be entered into the record and we can entertain them at another time or something.
I did ask the solicitor about items that weren't addressed on the agenda. Commissioner Waltridge.
Apologize, I was muted, sorry. I just wanted to go back and just for some clarity is, yes, at our August 10th meeting, there was a moment where that there were some of the commission that decided that they would have set a standard. I don't feel that it was really setting a standard. I think it was just to cover our butt because we don't want to discuss what it is because there was already unlawful things that happened previous to that meeting, such as open meetings that were held behind, which is just as bad as anyone saying anything, of making sure there was 3 votes before you came into a meeting, and that required 3 of you and 2 of us was to the side. So I just want to very well make clear that, you know, we always can point fingers at whomever, 3's always pointing back, but just remember, and your integrity in doing this. And mass communications, please. Everyone, well, I wouldn't say everyone's sour, I apologize and tip it. But as far as I'm concerned, and the mayor's concerned, and Eric, or Mr. Wisman, sorry, that you guys are concerned, we're all on social media. You may not fight back, but you're all on social media. As the last meeting, the mayor continued to say, oh, I can't turn it off, I can't turn it off. And it was because he had to close his Facebook page because it was playing in the background and it was echoing. So we can point the fingers. I am very well open and always ready to communicate with my constituents and residents. And I think that they should know. But again, I do not believe in holding illegal meetings and having votes before they come in. I do not believe in this whole ethical concern of setting a standard. It wasn't a standard. It was a very poor standard in our leadership to want to go in and not talk about it. Why not? But I think as far as that's concerned, I'm okay. And I spoke with Laura about Facebook and everything else too. We can put things in, it can always be changed later. I don't see why anything has gone. During that time of that particular meeting, there was nothing that I shared with the public other than what action item we were on, as they have I'm not sure if you remember, but if you read down, they have that at the very bottom that tells us what action items we're talking about in closed session. So they actually know that. So I was actually just letting them know which dot we're on, Mr. Wisman, to let them know how long we may be in closed session, because they are waiting for us. And there is a long times that we do that. And if I'm not mistaken, during that time, you guys took like 10 breaks. 10 pee breaks, and none of you but one person, Scott Tippett, actually drink water that night. And so I can only imagine you using your cellular device during a closed session and calling everybody to make sure you guys have your stuff together. So let's not talk about one particular person or how we do things. We can go back and forth all the time. I don't mind to say what I've done and what I've said, or what I've said to Steve Stewart or anyone else at the State Journal. It's written, and if you want to know, watch my lives. But I'm not going to sit here and push my integrity or lie to my community in regards to this. And all I'm wanting was some clarity on the mayor's part on why this was occurring. Just two more months left in this year, and this is a concern. I've not done anything at all to push the integrity of our city or do anything to put our city in any kind of hot water. And if so, I'm sure Miss Laura, our solicitor, Ms. Ross, would have already pulled me aside and stated what my issues were, as well as my 2 lawyers that I speak with on a regular basis would have already said that I've gone too far, I've done something wrong. So just be careful when we're changing laws, that it's not to protect us as individuals, to hide things from our community, but we're trying to make our city government stronger and more productive in that manner, and not just try to pull those over. But I will, Mayor, if I may, to add on to that is, I think that the comments are very well needed. I think that they were pushed in for a particular thing. I think anytime that we have an open meeting for our community needs to be able to speak. So I'll use my speaking time for my community as just part of my comments, if that seems that no one wants to hear. Noise, I guess, is what Wisman calls it. But I will share from Michael Fitzpatrick, Mayor, that his current
We're not going to read that. I'm sorry, right now we haven't decided, and I'm going to respond to your allegations. I should have cut you off immediately. We have an appeal with the Attorney General right now, and you started talking about an actual issue. So again, that is something again that can put the city in severe liability. I'm going to push back hard on your allegation that 3 of us would be taking, as I'm not going to use the term used, but on a break to go and get on our devices. When that simply is absolutely not true.
Okay.
So, and you can look at this and be flippant about it. 29 years of public service, I've always been very strongly in favor and supportive of making sure that we follow open meetings rules, open records, and sit there and to have someone make these allegations that are unfounded really disturbs me. I just want you to know that really disturbs me and is insulting. And I'm not going to stand for it. I'm absolutely going to stand for it. And, and if you think it's funny, that's okay. We'll let the voters decide. If you want to follow the rules and decorum and present a positive face for our community, then that's what I would hope you would do as an elected official. That's our fiduciary duty, to protect the community and to trying to bait us into talking about issues on a personnel action is not going to happen. We are following a legal precedent in that we are following the legal terms of an agreement with a former employee that you keep talking about. And and until that changes, this is the decision that we are going to follow. We're going to follow that. We've spoken to our attorneys and have advised that we've taken an action. It is a legal action. We are going to comply with the terms of the contract that we have. So anything other than that is a violation of any policies that the city has, and to speak about closed session items in an open session puts the city at risk of litigation. If that's what you choose to do, because you want to go into the term of you have the right to be, to speak your mind, you do. But if you disclosed closed session personnel issues, you also are going to put the city at risk, and you're going to open yourself up to further violations that the city would have to consider. So I would give you that advice right now, that to please, if you aren't familiar with our rules of procedure, go back and read those. And we're going to let anybody speak that wants to speak. In terms of if you want to sit here and try to disrupt the meeting, to you. And if you want to read their comments, I have no problem with their comments whatsoever. The problem is there's comments that are mentioned in public, under the public comment section all the time that don't have anything to do with the agenda. So sometimes we allow those to be read, sometimes we don't. And not that we don't allow, but sometimes, we leave that to the commission. I have absolutely no problem with any of their comments. They can say whatever they want, and we can disagree with their comments. We understand that. We understand there's an effort to try to get people to write in. That's their right. That's their right. We encourage people to provide input. But I would remind folks that we follow rules of procedure, and this is a legislative body, and this is not something that should be taken lightly. I take it very seriously. So Ms. Ross, if a member wants to read someone's comments that are part related to an agenda item but part aren't, what would be the process and your recommendation on that type of discussion?
I don't have the agenda items in front of me. If there is a part that doesn't relate to an agenda item, that part probably should remain out of the record because it does open the door to discussing things that weren't originally on the agenda. That's common practice. The other items, we have allowed comments from citizens to be read in the past. So I think that as long as we did not speak to those things that weren't on the agenda, it would be legal to do so.
All right, so because that would open us, if we talk about items that are not on the agenda and allow that to be put in the record, that opens us up to possible open meetings violation. Does it or does it not?
Yes, if we speak as a body about things that aren't on the agenda, that does open us to an open meetings violation, yes.
Okay, thank you. So that's where we're trying to protect, folks. We're trying to protect the organization. And by talking about things in a closed session, that's not protecting any of us individually. You know, I have absolutely no problem with the decisions that I've made in recent months. But I'm not going to violate my fiduciary duty as the mayor to this city, and especially on advice of our attorneys, to say not to go back and make comments on items that have been agreed to in a legal document and put the city at risk. Okay, Commissioner Walters, go ahead.
I didn't get to say cheese to whoever took the picture, but I just wanted to go back and some of what I listened to in that was that you use the word bait. No one is baiting you. I'm literally having a conversation, asking questions to get down to a lot of things that as city commission, I shouldn't be asking questions of. I should have been all knowing going into an August into a August 10th meeting of what's going on with our city manager. That's first and foremost, and that's definitely illegal to have a city commissioner vote on a dismissal of a individual, and we can't talk about why, so she can make sure, as Mr. Wisman, I believe, shared at a later meeting, that, you know, when it comes out, oh, you'll see why we voted that way. I remember him saying in an open meeting. We still haven't seen that, but at the same time, if it was that outrageous, then that's something I need to be made aware of to make sure I make the right decision. And I'm still not aware of why he was dismissed as a city commissioner. But I'm not baiting you. It's simple, a conversation. I'm not here to get you or anybody else. I'm here to do my job diligently that I would do for the city of Frankfort and all. And I'm not here to hide anything or gain anything, let alone. I'm not sure why you use the word flipping or where that even came from in the language to even do it. Maybe it's with some of the groups you're meeting with on the side. I'm not sure. I don't know why that word was even used, flipping, but it's not me. I'm sitting here merely trying to get down to why we're doing this and making sure the community is aware and why it needed to be so abruptly put on a middle of the week Wednesday meeting. When we first got the meeting request, it was only a couple of items in regards to the arborist. And then later, I believe Mr. Wisman was speaking on the women's shelter to making sure that it was added, which was time efficient. That's fine. But adding things like this, the community need to be heard. And they have tried to speak because of that. And if you don't want to read it, that's fine. I mean, it is what it is. It's not about hiding things. It's not about anything. It's about that they have a right to say whatever's on their mind. But neither here nor there. I'll definitely be working with Laura. Laura, I'll be in the office, to discuss this and seeing what we can do with the language and things of that nature. I'm not worried about anything that's gone on with the AG. I've done everything that I need to, and I have my T's and my I's dotted. I'm doing what the community needs.
All right, I'm going to respond to that too, because Commissioner, again, you made another allegation. You said that the commission we did something illegal. So again, if you have any proof of that, please bring it forward. And also would admonish the commission, if you make any type of allegation, we certainly can open up to any type of, I'll let you research legal remedies on that. But making statements and allegations that aren't true can get individuals in some pretty serious hot waters. I just want to remind the commission on that as well. In terms of why is it on here in the middle of the week? Commissioner, we have another meeting on Monday. So by putting this on here on Tuesday afternoon and for discussion today, this will be on the Monday agenda. This is a preliminary discussion only. So this gives the public even more advanced notice than if we put this on Friday afternoon. In terms of why is it on there today? Again, to give advance opportunities for people to look at it. And secondly, if there's any violations made by a member of the commission who did violate a city policy that was directed to not discuss executive session issues in open session and in open forum and through the newspaper or through individuals, then that's why, because the possible infraction occurred at the last city commission meeting. This is the next city commission meeting after that commission meeting where the violation could or could not have, may or may not have occurred. It's also the first meeting that has happened since any other subsequent comments could have been made that could be a violation of that. So again, we're not taking any action today. And anyone that sent comments today, they can send them back again. We will make sure that their comments are heard. But we remind everybody again too, to protect the city. That's my number one role right here, is that any comments that are not on that are directed towards items not on the agenda could open us up to a possible open meetings violation. And that's what we have to do to protect our organization. Commissioner Sauer, you had your hand up.
Mayor, yes. Do we have one more item on the agenda?
The next item would be adjournment.
I move we adjourn, Mayor.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Sauer,
Second.
second by Commissioner Wiseman. Any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
I saw your lips, yes. I read your lips, yes. Let's get out of this.
Commissioner Law,
Lord Jesus.
Commissioner Tippett,
Yes.
Commissioner Wiseman,
Yes.
Commissioner Sauer,
Yes.
Mayor May.
Yes, we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.